Today I'm in my hometown, Evergreen, Colorado, doing an unfortunate video. Evergreen is deciding to knock down El Rancho, one of our beautiful, historic driving lodges that is really a chapter in Evergreen's historical legacy. So I'm going to document El Rancho before they knock it down for a fucking quick trip. If you live in Denver, odds are you've been to Evergreen. Evergreen has historically always been a summer retreat for Denverites to come up and get out of the heat of Denver. Get out of the hustle, get out of the bustle. And first that happened through Wagon at Bergen Park. The wagons conveniently that were going to find gold and prospect. This was kind of the middle point between this and Gilpin County where a lot of that was going down. And then later through rail, there was a whole bunch of summer lodges. We're planning on doing a whole historical series on Evergreen. That is not this video, so subscribe to us if you want to see more on that. This is about the next chapter, which is the chapter of the automobile, what I'm in right now, and how that transformed vacationing in the Rocky Mountains.
More and more and more cars. More on our roads than last year. And there'll be more next year. And the year after that, more and more cars will be built and more cars will be bought. And every one of them will be entitled to room on our roads and highways.
The train may have bypassed Evergreen, but guess what didn't? The all-reaching American highway, which by and large followed the same route as the train, the US Highway 40, making that iconic Evergreen exit that you know off of Interstate 70 today. It's in the same place and pulls the town to having commerce by where the automobile is, which gives entrance to a new type of lodging and gives rise to El Rancho. Evergreen, especially where El Rancho is that they're knocking down, is right off of Interstate 70. There's a beautiful Walmart and a Home Depot there, and soon to be a beautiful Quick Trip knocking down all of this exit's real cultural legacy. Because when the Interstate and Highway 40 rolled around, this changed American vacationing forever. And El Rancho was at the center of that. The invention of the automobile. Maybe not only the invention of the automobile, but the automobile getting cheap enough for everybody in America to use it, and the road system becoming expansive enough to get people from point A to point B. If you know anything about the history of the interstate, it was really the Americans being inspired by the Autobahn in Germany, one of the Reich's projects. And then we decided, oh my gosh, they can move their military really fast. We need something like that in the United States.
Today, many of our highways are already obsolete. What would happen on them during a national emergency? The entire population under panic conditions trying to escape. Death on the highways is one of America's greatest problems.
So under the guise of tourism and urban white flight and etc., all the things that came with the interstate system was built, which changed the trajectory of this country for forever, from a rail country to a road country. And that changed the infrastructure of the United States too. So I'm driving through like the downtown of Evergreen right now. I'll flip it around here. And you've got the beautiful Evergreen Lake here. So this is where the old core it still is where the core of the town is. By old core, I mean like this is where the transportation hub used to be. But now, the transportation hub, arguably, I would say, is where all the chain stores are, like so many towns. And it's where the merger of the interstate is. But before the chain stores came, there was El Rancho. The historic center of town, still the nucleus of Evergreen, in my opinion. We live right above it, so I'm partial to that as compared to the Interstate 70 part of town, but it's beautiful, it's convenient, it's still Evergreen. We still love it over there. My whole point in bringing this up is the automobile changed everything. It changed restaurants. Like, you think there was fast food before the automobile? Maybe street food because people were walking around, but no concept of a drive-through or anything like that. It changed urban centers. All of a sudden, people aren't coming in on a train, they're coming in their car, and people need places to park. So it changes infrastructure in a huge way. And then finally, it changes logic. All of a sudden, the nucleus where the train station isn't the center of town. Convenience is the name of the game. And a convenient stop off of Old Highway 40 or off of New Interstate 70 is the perfect grounds for a hotel like El Rancho. Once we exit World War II, America is arguably at its height. New world superpowers, the boys coming home from the war, easy money, a lot of money, and the beginning of the American dream. And with the American dream came, well, seeing America with your family. And that's how the Rocky Mountains, which have always been a tourist destination since Western expansion, but that's how they really start to transform as the easily accessible Rocky Mountains now through the automobile. You can drive around, you can go on tour, you can drive over the Continental Divide in Rocky Mountain National Park. We did a whole video on that, so make sure to check that one out. But it changes everything, and there's all of these resorts that are popping up. One that you turn for in Evergreen is now called Mount Blue Sky. It was Mount Evans. And that whole wilderness area was actually going to be another national park, but it got voted down. We did a whole other video on that, too. My whole point is, tourism starts to change. The automobile starts to take people where people have never really gone before, except for on narrow gauge railroad recently. And this gives a need for people to stay. So in a lot of national parks, you'll notice a feature of them is a lodge. And similarly, in Evergreen here, when you come in, you're greeted by the giant neon sign, beautiful giant neon sign of El Rancho, which was this mid-century automobile lodge with food, and up until recently, a restaurant. Welcome to El Rancho off Interstate 70 and Old Highway 40. It was so popular that the exit was called El Rancho when Interstate 70 opened, and now it is set to be destroyed for a quick trip. The history in this place demands that we do not destroy it. I mean, this place was founded in the 40s by the Jahnkes and is Evergreen's story in a microcosm. Tons of traffic today. That's to be expected, Interstate 70 on a powder day. And that's what made this place so special, was its location But before Interstate 70 was even here, it was old Highway 40. And El Rancho, built in 1948, opened up to that automobile frenzy. So a lot of us know El Rancho in Evergreen as only a restaurant, which closed in 2024, one of the tragic accidents due to COVID. God, I hate COVID and how it took down so many amazing established places. And I hate how a company like Quick Trip can come in and buy it instead of, like, the entrepreneur like me would love to do something with a space like this and continue to have it as a legacy property in Evergreen. But we didn't even think about that, did we, Evergreen? I'm transgressing. Anyways, when this opened in 1948, it wasn't just a restaurant. This was also a lodge. So restaurant on the bottom, lodge on top. I'd say it's better than the Comfort Suites over here, because at this time you're thinking about convenience, and the best thing that you could really have as an automobile lodge is a place to sleep and a great place to eat. When this place opened in 1948, the idea was the highway system at that time was slow and arduous. Remember the clip?
Will there always be room for one more car? Well, there isn't even enough room now.
So if you're the first stop on one of these congested old roads like Highway 40, there's a good chance that people are going to stop at your establishment, which was the idea behind El Rancho when it first opened in 1948. I mean, this is a premium location. And they built El Rancho in the style of a hunting lodge with all sorts of taxidermied animals, and you got the saloon-style bar, and the idea was you have already arrived in the mountains. I mean, why even go to Idaho Springs or anywhere further on Highway 40 and wait behind all those dang cars when you could just get off at El Rancho and you and your family could have a good time instead of waiting in traffic? This was what the Jahnkes were thinking who opened this place in 1948. There's some lore during this time. Apparently this place was a little bit more Wild West around the late 40s, and the legend is that the iconic armchairs that were in El Rancho were actually carved backwards so you could sit facing the rear of the seat. And the idea was then it was easier to watch cockfighting. So yes, gambling and cockfighting in El Rancho, just some of that Wild West charm. In the 50s, a new family takes over, the McEncrows, and they made El Rancho not just a stop, but a destination. When Interstate 70 came through, it was the McEnroes who got the exit to be called El Rancho. Not Bergen Park, not Evergreen. El Rancho was the exit's name, which means that they were the destination and they branded themselves as the entrance into the high alpine. So now this is the place that all of the people are stopping along Highway 40 and then eventually Interstate 70. They greatly expand the offerings of El Rancho. They expand the building, they make more dining space, they make private event spaces, they make a gift shop, a gas station. They were even offering wine classes, so El Rancho now becomes this community hub of sorts and defines this area. The exit that El Rancho's off to becomes this big tourist trap exit. There was this old gift store on the Evergreen exit, which was the two teepees, which was iconic. Everyone stopped at it. And then El Rancho was right across the street. Eventually the teepees burned down and El Rancho was all that was left, which actually did pretty good for El Rancho because now there was no competition for them. After the McEnroes, this restaurant passes to multiple owners after the 80s. It reimagines itself as a brewery and restaurant, and now is open until 2024. Now the proposed plan is to put the Quick Trip, and apparently they're going to build a different El Rancho structure on the other side. But my question is this: why not keep the El Rancho and put the Quick Trip on the other side? That seems obvious, right? So when Highway 40 was coming here, this was really one of the only places to stay. really taking over in Bergen's footsteps, who was the ranch that people stayed at on the old trails before the train, even as they were out west. Evergreen's always been that stop-off city, and El Rancho brought that into a new chapter. So restaurant was happening and lodge was happening up until the 60s, when Interstate 70 comes in and changes the fabric of this area. And then they really start to focus on being just an excellent restaurant and an event space. And that's where a lot of us remember them. Let me be frank with you, I'm making this video because I'm off that this is gonna be a quick trip, because this is a beautiful building. The town of Evergreen, I know, fought really hard, and I get money speaks very loud. But we've got gas stations. What we don't have is another El Rancho. And there won't be another El Rancho in history. So even if you're saving the sign or doing whatever you're doing, and I'm talking directly right now to the political establishment in Evergreen that is greenlighting this, whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. Because for generations, we're gonna mourn the loss of this building. So what, people can get a cheap hot dog in a convenience station? It's not worth it at all. And I wish that there was something that I could do. And if anybody knows anything that I can do, please comment below, because I'd love to save this building before it's gone. But then the other reason that I'm here is I'm likely not going to have the ability to do that, and we have to document its history. Thank you so much for coming on a Radically Colorado adventure to El Rancho. If you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. Make sure that we can keep documenting Colorado history and preserving its legacy.